Welcome to the Ray Festival live in Bulgaria and online wherever you are in the world.
Now the topic, it was announced that how to survive 2027. And I cannot tell you how to survive 2027 because obviously what we are supposed to face is an unexpected change of great dimension. We cannot know what it is. But we surely can know or at least understand a little how to arrive there as safe as possible. Of course, the transit field is indicating what kind of challenges we must meet along that way. And therefore, understanding that, we may have some insights how in a general way we can be better prepared to handle that. So it is, let's say, the attempt is to deliver you a manual for difficult times based on the understanding of the transit field. You have to imagine we are living in a very old cycle. In my own imagination, I try to understand a cycle also like a living being. And we are very, very close to the point where it is over. That means that the nature of the cycle is already in a very weak state. But at the same time, as it has been there for a long time, and it has built, let's say, its abilities and qualities over a long time, and has created them for some time in a strong way, it does not fade away like that. It's not you snip with the fingers and it's gone and something new is there. It is a historical process of transformation. And for me, the best metaphor I can give you is, you all will remember 9/11. And when it happened, we all saw these movie clips in some kind of news, when these World Trade Center towers were collapsing, and it was showing you in slow motion. And this is how the cycle ends. It is a great collapse of the towers of vanity, but it is happening for our eyes, for our perspective. It is happening in slow motion because our horizon is so small that we always see that is immediately before our eyes. We have great difficulties to see the cycle or greater parts of the cycle. But let's assume the general idea of this moment, of this period is, it's pretty close to the end. And therefore, whatever has been given the quality of the cycle to the cycle has become very weak. And this is, of course, then expressed by the change from the material, from the tribal and material world to the individual and spiritual world. That is the main quality of the transition. And I know an expression like spiritual is very delicate because 10 people will understand 10 different things with that. But I would like to give you the most simple and accurate description I have found in my own language. It is from the outer world to the inner world. Because one thing is for sure, the spirit is not outside of you. It is inside of you. Looking at the movement of the slow-moving planets, they are not just going around the circle. They are moving forth and back, forth and back, forth and back, what we call the retrograde periods, interrupting the general movement from the right to the left. We always should start by looking at the transit field from these huge perspectives. We always need to start with Pluto. The planetary field is not just a planet and another planet. It contains an invisible structure, how what we perceive as being our world is created by the program. And Pluto is the ruler. It is the ruler of the cycle, and it always brings the topic you cannot avoid. And this is on the one hand true for the world in general, but it's definitely also true for you and me. So by understanding what Pluto brings as a quality, we have immediately a double perspective we need to connect. The one thing is, what does it mean in general? What's going on in the world? But what's going on in the world is automatically brought in some way to our life. So we have to meet it, we have to confront it. It is in us, it is around us, it is everywhere. And is there everywhere? You cannot avoid. Yeah, it's just the law. So therefore, you will be in some way affected. And the difficulty in grasping that is that the ways in which you will be affected by it, they are different. We live in different countries, in different situations, in different periods of our life. We have our personal situations. This is the diversity on the surface, what the Chinese call the 10,000 forms. Yeah, there are the 10,000 different forms, but there is the one topic showing up in all of these forms, and this is the Plutonian one. So therefore, that will get a lot of attention during this, let's say, 1.5 hours, because this is the one thing you cannot avoid. But Pluto, Pluto is the planet that is the farthest away from the Earth. It is literally not to be seen, or very difficult to be seen, because it's so far away. You see its impact, but you do not see Pluto. And how is it translated? How is it brought to the, let's say, mundane field, to the field of this world? The next step in materializing, and by far not the last one, but the next step, this is a duality. And the duality is created by Neptune and Uranus. And they are really working together, even if on the surface, they are looking very, very different. I mean, Neptune, the invisible one, the Lord of the sea that does its work. Now, in a way, you cannot really see. Some things also will surface, but what is really important, you do not see. Neptune, I have looked for metaphors of all of these qualities, and Neptune, that is a little bit like what creates the tsunami. It is not the tsunami, no. But the tsunami is created deep down on the ground of the sea, where nobody's eyes can look to. And if it is surfacing, it is already done. That's why Neptune is the absolute unstoppable force. What you cannot see, you cannot prevent, so to speak. You cannot defend against something you do not even see or are aware that it's there. And if you see it coming, it has already happened. And there is even, if we are looking at the astronomical planet of Neptune, there is even a quality this planet has that is making that physically visible, what I mean. There are storms on Neptune. They move with a speed of 2,000 kilometers per hour. That is faster as the speed of sound. If you hear the storm, it has already passed you. You do not get the warning. Before it's here, you do not get a sign of that. And when it's here, it's too late. And the main function, I mean, Neptune as a planet is extremely complex. But if you are looking at the mundane world we are occupied with, after all, that's the world we are living in, we can say it is the great dissolver of the old. By undermining it, by weakening it, by dissolving it silently. Yeah, like something is going weaker and weaker and weaker, and at some point it falls down, and in that moment you see it, but it's too late. And this is obviously then true for a lot of qualities. They have been built over time, over the time of the last cycle, and they are still there. They are still there. Yeah, it's like, yeah, our towers are still there, but they already started to scramble. And yeah, there's a little indication here and a little indication there, but what truly is happening is hidden till it has happened. So that's the one side, the weakening, the undermining, the dissolving of the old. And then we have the Uranus, who is by its quality very different, that sudden, rebellious, revolutionary game changer that brings the moment that changes everything. That's why I call it the game changer. And then you have out of the destroyed old form, or even through the help of Uranus bringing something totally new, it is this final push for the old to collapse. So this is like the most basic general mechanic we have to understand, because yes, we are confronted with that. If we understand it or not, if we know it or not, if we are aware of not, it is how it works. And it's also how it works in your life. So the period we are talking about, let's say roughly from 2024 to 2027, as you can see, during that time, we only have two gates to discuss and what they mean for us as individuals. That is the gate 60 and the gate 41. And what you have in these columns, that is at what moment was the first entrance of the planet to the gate. So Pluto was entering gate 60 first time in 2021, and it has its last day in the gate 60 on the 5th of December 2025. But you remember, because of the pendulum movement, that does not mean Pluto is always in the 60. I will show you the pendulum movement in detail in a second. So it's going forth and back, but the main activation is in gate 60. And then we have our gate famous 41. Everybody in human design is aware of the gate of the decrease. And this starts, in April 2024. It's not in 27. Oh yeah, it's in 27 as well. But it's not happening the first time in 2027. There is, we could also say, a preparation time till it has a peak in 2027. Movement of Pluto in the gate 60. That is also very interesting because, as you can see, it comes with a rhythm. The first entrance is relatively short. Then comes what we could call the middle long entrance. Then comes the big one, the peak, much more than 1 year. Then comes the first period that is very similar to the second one. And finally, the last one, and then it's over. So the total duration of this gate 60 activation is 1,192 days. And that means 3.2 years, a lot of time. All of you know the pressure of the limitation that works in pulses and is actually a mutational pressure, but that it is here to drive the mutation does not mean the mutation is always taking place. It is first the limitation of something. And that there is limitations are everywhere and ongoingly. This is just as it is. And it is normal. It is the law of existence. Whatever exists is a limitation. Whatever I can describe about you or about myself or a tree is a list of limitations. So limitation is the general nature of things, at least in the material world. But, thanks God, or whomever, most of these limitations are not pressurizing. But as this is the pressure for mutation, we are mainly speaking here about the limitations creating the pressure. Let's look at the very famous sanctions. Obviously, the situation between Russia and Ukraine is one of the main topics of the present time, and it goes very well along with the Pluto in the 60. And what are sanctions? Sanctions are an attempt to bring a limitation to the other side. Yeah, as possibilities, but in a very general sense. So it is an attempt to create a pressure for the opposite side by creating a limitation for them. Okay. But obviously, in a world that is totally interconnected, by creating a limitation for the other, you are also creating a limitation for yourself. And the solution is to successfully adapt to the new situation. I think there are 3 lines in the 41. They literally use the topic, the term of adaptation. So not only exclusively the 3rd line. So adaptation to less. And that doesn't sound good, huh? Look at your material world, your personal material world. What do you have? What do you have? What do you consume? And ask yourself, what do I really need? Strategy and authority is really the tool for the new time, because you do not have to understand anything by mind. You do not need to define anything by mind. The Neptune is also the planet of the dissolution in a very positive sense. This oceanic quality, like the sea is so huge. It almost is infinite. So maybe the direction the Neptune brings, at least for some of us, is moving into the Great Sea. And then, we still, how shall I say, we are a small wave in the Great Sea. But it is basically the Great Sea we are. And then we have some differentiations. And in honoring them, we have an identity in the moment that is according to the moment. And this is surfing the destiny. This is surfing the waves of the destiny and having always the potential of fulfillment.
Thank you for being with us on this journey at the Human Design Rave Festival 2024.